meta-galactic family, welcome back to my channel, Indigo Angel. Welcome if you are new, and if you are returning, don't forget to hit the notifications bell and hit the like button as you come on into the Flaming Gorge here in Utah. So I came here to spend some time really connecting to the spirits of this land and do some spiritual work, do some ritual work, and open up those hyperdimensional portals, and also experience the hyperdimensional portals that are already existing here, which are incredible, are super powerful, and I'm going to explain more of what I mean by that. Every time you kind of come into an area that is, for one, if it's landlocked, if water formations are landlocked, the plasma seems to really be like hyper tuned, hyper potent over the water formations, and particularly within the gorge. It's almost like there are hyperdimensional tunnels of merging vortexes that seem to kind of connect to the ectoplanes, the Veka planes of the God world, which is the most quantified subatomic perceptions of plasma and consciousness. So it's very hyperdimensionally charged, and yeah, so there's a lot of spaces here where you can kind of access and enter into those trans-dimensional worlds, and also out of time. You can step out of time, and you can also step in between time merges. So it's pretty incredible. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful space. I've already been on a boat up and down the gorge. I am sitting at the marina right now, and it's just, there's a lot of people around me, so I might have to pause at certain points to, wait for somebody to walk by, or, wait for a dog to stop barking, or somebody just might be like really loud. There's a lot of boat docking that's going on right here. So in the meantime, I just want to play a song for you guys, because I feel this song is going to assist with opening up the information that I have to say today. I have a really big cosmic energy update for you guys today, and I have a lot to say. But in the meantime, I'm going to take a drink of my water. Okay. And I'm going to play my song. And those of you who love me will love it. And those of you who don't love me, well, you can listen to it anyways. The song is called Full Circle, and it is by a Magica Ohm. I do not own the rights to this song, but I will leave it in the description in case you want to vibe on out with this song. It's so just listen. You guys are you're gonna love it. It's opening up them sound waves here in the gorge. session's over with, but I love that song. Yeah, guys, so welcome to the Flaming Gorge here in Utah. I hope that you just received those light codes. I'm going to be bringing forth a pretty powerful message today that I wanted to share with you. I had to kind of tune into my vibe to be able to share this with you all today. But yeah, so the Flaming Gorge, it's awesome to be here. It's like I am really in the most still, most simultaneous place that I could ever be in terms of merging with all of my reality fields, bringing it into wholeness, bringing it into unity consciousness, bringing it into fifth dimensional consciousness, it's amazing. It's amazing how these hyperdimensional plasma charged vortexes are really existing in tunnel formations here through the gorge. I can actually almost see them like little swirling tornadoes, little plasma charged tornadoes, and it's not even windy. It's like, so I know when we're riding through those, we're actually entering into those eternal ethos planes, kind of where it's almost like it's pulling you transdimensionally out of time and also transdimensionally in between time merges. So that's what I've been picking up on mostly here. Kind of like you can compare it to the day out of time that we just had in the Mayan calendar. That was on July 25th. And that's on a cyclical calendar perception. But here in the gorge, when you're on location in these places that are hypercharged, hyperdimensionally, you can actually hear the echoes into the infinite, which is amazing. So just being able to film here is bringing through these powerful codes of recognition from the Oot spirit, which is the natives and the indigenous that are encoded within the landmass memory here. And I actually had to look that up before I came here because I wasn't sure who the native indigenous tribes were before I came. But when I came, I tuned into the energy. So the Oot tribes have basically nurtured this sacred canyon here, this sacred river system here, in this humble valley, I've been guided to say, as they have been so honorable to allow me to work with spirit here. So I have been doing ritual here and seeking permission from the spirits to work on this land, and they definitely have granted that for me, and so it's been a magical experience so far. But ultimately today I've been guided to speak about the Seraphim, and ultimately more towards the end of this video I'm going to tie the Seraphim into some of the points that I'm trying to make here today. And that's ultimately what this energy update is about, is the concepts of the energy light codes, the living energy light codes that are being charged through our biochemistry, through biochemical genetics, and ultimately the living radial templates of God and the celestial designs, as really all spiritual energy, all archetypal energy, all living light energy to ever exist originates from prime creator God source consciousness, and ultimately through the celestial designers of these templates. And so that does break down even more, and that exists within the Seraphim templates inscribed as the guardians, or the thrones that are closest to God. And so these specific thrones are considered the guardians, the Seraphim. And the guardians also hold galactic identity as well. So it's depending upon how you can navigate these concepts. Essentially though, there is the spiritual energy of it, the actual God energy of it comes from the Seraphim, from the Elohim, from the Oraphim, from the Cherubim, and other levels of the choirs and the thrones that do guard the houses closest to God, essentially. And so the guardian grid networks are being supercharged at this time to all beings of light who are essentially called to do this healing work. So there's no like qualification that you specifically have to be a guardian. is that if you have came into the activation, the awareness, if you are called to it on some level of activation, then you are a guardian as well. And this call does extend across to all founder lineages, all star nations, and all thrones of power. Okay, so this is inherited through a pre-conceptual covenant that many simply chose, as they chose to incarnate as a being of light, nothing more and nothing less. Okay, so, you know, all I'm saying is don't let anybody tell you that you're not a guardian, and that you're not connected to the guardians, because you are. The spiritual living light energy lives within you based upon your preconceptual covenant to incarnate as a being of light. So I want to deeper and further explain the Seraphim and the true identity of the Seraphim, as I do feel it's important as we come into the celestial designs. Okay, so I'm going to explain more about that. Now, the Elohi or the Elohim are also the guardians as well, but they are more through the father principle. They are through Vega, they are through the Summer Triangle, they are through Aquila, they are through Cygnus, and they are ultimately through Orion, which is quoted in the Keys of Enoch in specific chapters. Okay, so if you want to learn more about the father principle, the father principle of the Elohim, you would want to look at this book. But after reading a lot of this, it's led me to believe that the Seraphim, the Seraphi, may in fact be the mother principle. And I will get into that later here in this energy update as I discuss further the deeper identity of the Seraphim, which is ultimately the Seraphim, the burning ones, right? The burning ones, the holy, holy, holy. I do feel that they are the one that made this trip possible here for me at the Flaming Gorge. And so, yeah, there's a lot of information that's coming through today, and you can feel the waves washing up on the shore. So yeah, guys, now we are in the middle of the Lionsgate portal, and we will be hypercharged, particularly by the Stargate Regulus. So this is the family of Archangel Raphael. This is one of the 4 royal stars. This is the emerald ray of creation that comes through the astral plane, that comes through the astral feed line of Gaia. One of the misconceptions that the astral is accessed through astral travel. It is accessed through astral travel, but it's also accessed within, internally into the core of Gaia. You can bring up the astral feed line, the astral cord, expand this into your field. Here you can access the blue ray, the blue flame, and the emerald flame, the emerald ray. You can encompass this in your body. This is considered a part of the 48 genetic upgrades that's bringing forth the infinite mind. This is bringing forth the infinite genetic identification internally. This is beyond the 48 strands. This is beyond 48 strands of DNA activations. The emerald plane is the diamond sun. This is the platinum sun. So you're starting to bring through these really, really high level Akashic codes, these high level ethos codes, these high level eternal Veka planes, Veka and ectoplasmic codes. And so this brings forth unlimited and infinite potential within the higher accessibility of the God worlds of pyramidal divinity. Now, the pyramidal divinity, that's also in the book, The Keys of Enoch, and it's about infinite pyramidal divinity within celestial worlds. These are the templates. These are the quantified and most subatomic templates within the radial living light energy within the celestial realms and celestial identities. This is all a part of going through the Lionsgate. The Lionsgate is bringing forth these Regulan codes. Now, the Regulan codes do transmit to and from Draco. The Sphinx itself is an honorary statue to the Draconian Empire. So there's a lot of connections here. It's a part of the 4 Quadrant Hybridization societies, which I'm going to talk about more here later in this energy update. Okay, guys? Now for 2020, the Lionsgate is a very particularly challenging portal, as it's exposing a lot as these higher infinite emerald codes come through those who are ready to receive these specific activations and upgrades. It is a planetary upgrade that is making its way through. These are very high photonic light codes that do start to expose the phantom. They do start to eradicate the phantom. They do start to expose the war over the timelines, because there's a lot of I guess archonic deception that is creating a lot of disassociation and delusion when it comes to the acceleration in the war over timelines, the automatic running of artificial holographic projections of the artificial intelligent timelines. And so this is hence the emergence of the normalizing of pedophilia, which I 100% do not support and stand in protection of the children and their innocence, to experience their sensual capacity at their own chosen time, their own soul contracts that were prescribed in their own destiny, okay? Not to be propagated and ritualistically abused by the archons of the Malak tribes. Okay, this is why I called this out in my last invocation. If those of you who watched my last Kali invocation, seen that I actually called this entity out, so to speak. And really, honestly, immediately after I did that, I was attacked by one eyebrowed archon, who was basically running the 55 reversal templates and wearing a mask of disillusion. Okay, these are the type of beings that are being exposed through this portal, being exposed through the Lionsgate. These high 48 genetic encoding is hyper blasting through light and sound waves, through cosmic intelligence, through radial living light energy that is basically clearing out the phantom worlds. Okay, and so this all has a lot to do. Ultimately, we are all a piece of the fabric that is holding together all of these inner and extra and ultra dimensional simulations. Okay, and so all of this is coming up, all of this is being exposed. This is ultimately a calculated artificial intelligent database that is running simulations and experiments right now in this Lionsgate portal of 2020, designed and propagated by the controllers, okay, and the controlled, who are controlled by the controllers. And this is acted out upon their goblins, their goons, their archonic legions that are celebrating the falsehoods of these artificial timelines. Okay, this is creating splits and inversions that are running through the organic timelines. Okay, so there's a lot that comes from that. I do believe Project Bluebeam and MK Ultra, and also the Armageddon concepts, the apocalyptic Armageddon. Okay, and I do believe, my friend sent something to me earlier, it was the apocalypse of Baruch as well in the Hebrew Bible. But essentially, there will soon be, through the Lionsgate portal, okay, towards the end of this span, through to August 12th, there's going to be a reclamation of the original lost souls of Tara, okay, the original lost souls of Alcyon, okay. There's going to be a wave of this reclamation, and this is pushing through and cleansing out satanic ritual abuse. Okay, you can see this now, right now. There are thousands of people marching in Hollywood, in Pedowood. They are rising up against this attack on the one thing that we cherish the most, and that is our children. Okay, and so there's going to be a great cleansing here, and this is going to require that mothers and women stand up for our children right now. Okay, women must come together. Women must be strong. We don't have a choice. This is the Sahara right now. This is the jungle, okay? And the mama tigers and the lions, the mama lions need to stand up for their baby cubs. And it doesn't matter if they're yours or not. They're the children of the world, and us as women, as divine, sacred, fierce feminines will stand for our babies as a whole, okay? And this is what we're going to see happen here more through the Lion's Gate, is the mamas stepping up to protect these babies, okay? This is the Armageddon cleansing we're going through the Lion's Gate portal. And also new covenant designs of the Treaty of Altair. Okay, this is really big. This is huge. This has been coming up so much, I can't even tell you, but I'm gonna tell you. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna leave a description in the link so you can further understand what the Treaty of Altair is. This is in the Ascension glossary, I believe, but also in the Voyagers. But all of this ultimately is prompting cancel culture. This is statically and incoherently eradicating the possessed 55 and the demonic systems and lower reality fields. Okay, everything right now is feeling like a divine intervention, accompanied with intense ascension symptoms, accompanied with immense physical body ascension acceleration, okay, taking many over the edge. Many over the edge at this point. And so it's a lot of static within their energy field, and it's really hard to clear right now because the codes are the highest that they're ever going to be coming through the Lion's Gate portal. And so a lot is unraveling. This unravels within the grids, and this is why Aquila has come up. This is why the Treaty of Altair has come up, because Aquila was the original grid installers. Okay, so all of this is going to be falling apart, particularly socially, governmentally, globally, collectively, to show you where preparations, hard work, self-control, and perseverance must be cultivated. Okay, guys, so in higher divine truth, these things are simply radically shifting with a Kali-like force to upgrade the systems that are in place, and to push along the eradication of evil as the addiction to darkness is dramatically singed out of global toroidals and spinning Merkaba fields, okay? If you're one that has been going around embodying the egos of those that you serve, to love, to hate, then when that soul decides to disengage from your embodiment, it will be singed like fire from your identity. Just saying, okay? So watch very carefully and with discernment what you participate in. Everything that you consent to with your eyes, mind, with your third eye, nonverbal cues is the consent. Listening is the consent, so just remember that, okay? It's the consent to embody, and it will be singed out of the flames through the Seraphim, through the fire codes of the DNA, and it will burn, okay? Regulus is the stargate that will amplify this through the 4-Quadrant Hybridization Society, which is the planetary grid structure that upholds the 4th dimensional stargate in Giza, Egypt. Now, I did just speak about this at the beginning, but the Sphinx in particular is an offering to Regulus, okay? Regulus is the lion. The Sphinx is the half-man, half-cat statue, okay? This is the feline aspects of the lion planetary implant grids from Atlantis, and also Draco. So, which I have discussed all of this in a past video, so if you want to catch up on this, I did a video called The Origin of the Feline Race. If you want to know how I put these connections together, just please message me and I will send you the link to this video. Or you can join my Patreon. I think I'll go upload it on Patreon now, but I am going to unlist it off of YouTube, as I did work very, very hard on this one in particularly. This is my own work. And I wouldn't want anyone not truthfully seeking this information with ill intent to have access to this. This is very occult, and the archons are watching, okay? So just know that if you want this video, I will send it to you via private message, or you can join my Patreon. Like I said, Regulus is one of the 4 royal stars, and it is a major star system that is part of the 4 Quadrant Hybridization Society. Now, the Royal Star Quadrant Hybridization Society is the most heavily accessed occult seeding route for incarnation on the planet. And this is why it does uphold the Lion identity. The Lion identity is probably the most populated, kind of like Orion. It's according to Starseed Origins. Okay, so it's one of the top. It's an occult seeding route that a lot of people don't really know about until you start accessing the occult nations. But essentially, the source of all seedings, and many of you may not agree with this because, you know, this is, you know, everybody's got different information, different things they're reading, different, you know, things they're following. But from the depth of my studies, all source of all seedings are from Laniakea Nations, the supercolossal nations and clusters and cloisters, okay? Even the Anu, even Draco, even Melchizedek. They all come from the super colossal clusters from Laniakea. And within the Quadrant Hybridization Society in the Milky Way, ultimately Antares is the head council informant to Laniakea command centers. Okay, so anytime that we have any of the one of the 4 royal stars coming into major activation, there is a lot of transmission that is going back and forth to the Laniakea command center. Now, the guardians, the Seraphim, and the Elohim live within this living light energy of all of the current thrones of power on Earth. So the thrones are a representative of the most populated nations that consist of 144 grail extensions that have the capacity of 48 and beyond infinite spectrum, okay? Universal and occult, which is simply the difference between the seen and the unseen portions of the identity within the infinite genetic biochemistry of the world globally. And there are a lot of nations running these 12D currents, and they are all according to the Stargate stellar cycles and the hybridizations that operate from the eternal ethos and experience these trans-harmonic ascension capacities. Okay, so I'm not going to get into all of them because I just don't really have a lot of time, but it's the Annunaki of Nibiru. It is the Polarian planetary subjugation, the domination and control structures of the centipedal point of polarity. These laws. It is from the Draco hierarchy, implementation of Polarian subjugation laws. Now, I'm talking about this because this is important. This is very, very important to understand. There's a lot of dissolution within the spiritual community that these reptilians and these negative agendaed and labeled races and nations and things are not able to hold beyond 4th dimensional capacity ascension perception, and that is just false, and that is just not true. All of the ones I'm listing here today have the capacity to 12D and beyond. The Lyran Syrian Pillar Advisors, these are the advanced races who created the Avatar Matrix. They created bioregeneration, the editing and the monitoring, morphological genetic diversity. They actually hold the most ancient genetic keys, but they do not hold the highest ascended state or the oldest account of incarnation records. That actually ultimately would be held in signets. But they are a passive advantage seeding. They are a neonatal nebular, means they're birthing the most cloisters, and they do reveal within the time capsules encoded to the central sun. Okay, so we also have the Andromedan covenants that are upholding human and moral behavior. We have galaxy nations of intelligent expansion that stem from Andromeda. These would be Pegasi, Cassiopeia, Merak, and Pisces. We also have Arcturus. These are interface systems between the pillars of power, and they are the atomic matter systems. They are from the Boots supercolossal cluster from Laniakea. We have Orion as homeland security, the father figure principle of the Elohim. They are technocratic nations of evolution. Okay, it's important to understand that the Orions are emerged from a technocratic place. They are from an aggressive expansion and advantage seeding. They are a neonatal nebular as well. Okay, they are the home of AI development. So there's a lot of polarity that's happening here in Orion. They can be seen equally good as equally bad. Cygnus ascension distribution. Okay, all indigo calculations from Atlantean grail keepers and Lemuria. These are source seedings from Laniakea. Cygnus is also an informant to the Laniakea Command Center. We also have Aquila the grid installers in the original grid layers of Gaia. We have the Royal Star Quadrant Hybridization Society. This is the most heavily accessed occult seeding route. Okay, almost, I want to say 80% of the readings I do have some connection to the hybridization incarnation route. And that's just facts. Pleiadian full transparency Templar quests. These work in cohesiveness with the Quadrant Hybridization Society. And they ultimately are their own universal seeding route and have their own history, of course. We have the Hydra Suppression Crusade and Revocation. Okay, these are the identities of the Seraphim. These are the identities of the serpents, ultimately, okay? And this is responsible for pagan and matriarchal denouncement. This is ultimately the Earth's identity, and these are the Grail Keepers. And these are also connected to the Centaurs. Hydra Centaurs are from the supercolossal cluster of Laniakea as well. These are a highly occult seeding route. Most people do have some sort of connection to this as well. I would say 50% of all starseed origin readings do come through this route. Centaur reinvestment and revolution. The Centaurs are the last line of defense to the GC, the Galactic Center, and the Hydra Centaur supercolossal clusters. So this is another major occult seeding route that is becoming actually a part of the progression of the future. So I just minimally kind of went through that list of the total data currency of those ethos radial identity seedings and celestial identities that exchange from the Laniakea Nations that are operating within the Milky Way and the universal reality fields upon the universal trees of lives. Okay? And so all of those are actually carrying these 12D activations. They are encompassing the 48 sub-frequency bands, and they are the Grail Keeper extensions. And so ultimately, it's important to kind of understand that because of the higher transmissions that are coming through the Lion's Gate, and as all of this darkness is purged out from the planet, it's important to know who the thrones of power are. And it's important to know that identities have been masked, identities have been taken, identities have been taken, suppressed, and overlooked, and very well hidden within these Atlantean grid networks, okay? So the Seraphim means the burning one, and this is the essence of fire. And I feel this is what led me ultimately to the Flaming Gorge, to receive the codes necessary to say the things that I needed to say today. The Babylonian eagle carried the constellation, the dead man in its talons, also carried the snake in its talons, okay? I've come to realize through my last grid charts that I did, I charted the Aquila grids by country animal through my own inner guidance and my own divine intelligence. And I am putting this grid together for you guys. I'm going to get it out as soon as possible. But there is an interesting theme within all of them particularly, okay? I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. Moscow, Russia, which is the Syrian gate under the universal Stargate signets that can be found in the Voyager's books. This gate is ultimately hijacked. The true Syrian gate is the South Pole in Antarctica. This runs up through Mali and Africa, through the Dogon tribes. This was how the Dogons received the Syrian light codes. Now, how it's running through Moscow, Russia, I'm not completely sure. And I'm not saying that this information is wrong and this beautiful artwork of intellectual information that's come forth. But what I'm seeing through this gate is that due to country animal, that Russia is the double-headed eagle. Okay, and so here is wherein lies that deception. I have spoken about this before, but this is important to realize when you start looking at the identity of the Seraphim, because the Aquila, the eagle, is an implant grid negated by the Atlantic coalitions of frequency control for global networks. Okay, so this is how deception runs through the global networks. It's because the eagle hunts the serpent. And the Aquila networks stake reign on Aryan manifest destiny to a point of global dominance that's even higher of the lion grids. And it's covering the most north and the most largest land masses. So I'm going to be covering this in my next grid energy update. But you can, in the meantime, if you want to, you can look in the book of Isaiah, and you can see that the Seraphim are described as six-winged beings that fly around the throne of God as guardians, with a triple invocation of holiness, singing, holy, holy, holy. But the seraph originally is referred to as the serpent. Okay, Sarah is serpent. The Seraphim in their true primordial form is the serpent. So the serpent guardian to the throne of God, hence why Shiva has a cobra around his neck. So the Aquila grids have hijacked this identity, stolen this identity to create this as the fallen and demonization of the serpent Seraphim. Okay, so you do not interpret the serpent as angelic, as holy, through the force of the predatorial patriarchal figure, Aquila. Okay? Now, it's not all bad if you are an Aquila starseed or you are connected to the eagle in any way. Living here in the States, obviously this is our country's national animal as well. But essentially, there is polarity to every throne of power, and some are operating on the forms of hijacking information and intelligences more so than others. And Aquila is probably the most hijacked Atlantean grid. So these are some of the highest levels of spiritual organization of the masterminds of distortion. And this also implies that the controller forces have taken hostage of the eagle system to include the double-headed and golden eagle system, which anything related to golden represents the worship of falsehoods, represents the worship of greed. So ultimately, all eagle grids at this time, which according to the thrones of power, are the original grid installers. This is why, all this is kind of happening here. So this is where we as guardians are sending and receiving the most healing and exposure of the Malak through the Aquila grids, through the dragon, through the red crown crane reconfigurations that are taking grip through the Lion's Gate of 2020. The eagle grids are and were the hijacking of the mother gates, and they are being the most siphoned and used against its people in disguise of their true identity. Okay? So please, I love you all so much. Stay tuned. I'm going to be doing much more high-level updates regarding the grids to come within the next week. It's just taken me a while to design these portions of the actual charting that I'm going to use to show you guys through Scribbles Maps. But please stay tuned. I'm going to have more to come. Patrons, please stay tuned. I'm going to be bringing forth visualizations within the next week as well. And we're going to be working on viewing the gates so that way you can begin to access this information to kind of see through these distortions. We're going to be doing this via holographic perception. We're going to be scanning the gates for frequency, and we're going to be sending 12D currents into the gates for further healing and evolution for universal reverberation to the core of Gaia. And this is that form of mastery where instead of just waiting for realities to happen, you're actually resending the reverberation codes through mathematic design and through geometric and light and primal sounds to basically receive the responses that you're seeking within these universal structures to help with planetary healing, to save our children, and to heal the earth. And I can't wait to share this all with you guys. Patrons, I love you so much. And everybody, thank you so much. I love everybody. I love all of my YouTube subscribers. I love everybody who's been sticking with me this whole time. I appreciate you guys listening to a lot of things that sometimes are hard to hear. And trusting my guidance on this, trusting my intuition that what I'm bringing forth is coming from the most purest place, with the most purest intention, ultimately to assist with the healing and the evolution of the planet as a guardian, as a light worker. And I know some of you don't like the term light worker either. However you want to see it, somebody who's committed and fully invested to higher consciousness and the healing of the planet. And so yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I just wanted to give you guys this energy update. I wanted you guys to be able to feel the energy coming from the flaming gorge. It's absolutely incredible. And I hope everyone has a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste. I will be back with another video.